It started with a quiet shift. Not in the news, not in the sky, not in anything obvious. Just a hum beneath the ground, subtle enough to be ignored if you weren't listening. But those who were astronomers, engineers, anyone who knew how the universe ticked, felt it. Gravity wasn't behaving like it should. Satellites began to wobble, small at first, then wildly. Space debris, long thought stable, started colliding in orbit, forming arcs of fire visible even from Earth. Panic? Not yet. Curiosity first. Scientists worked frantically, scanning the skies for the anomaly. Government scrambled secret satellites, radar, defense networks. But no one could see what was coming. Then it appeared. A vessel, enormous and geometric, drifting silently above the Pacific Ocean. Its surface absorbed light, like liquid obsidian, reflecting nothing. It didn't descend. It didn't maneuver. It just hung there, like a shadow cast across the curvature of Earth. Military commands across the globe readied their arsenals. Jets scrambled. Nukes were prepped in hidden silos. Lasers lined up with deadly precision. The world braced for a strike. And the strike came, not with missiles, not with fire, not with visible weapons, but with silence. Every electrical grid across North America flickered, stalled, and died. Cars stopped mid-traffic. Planes lost all guidance. Screens went dark. Humanity, so relying on its technology, suddenly felt vulnerable, exposed. Except one. Deep beneath Cheyenne Mountain, an old analog radar system, built decades ago when the Cold War taught humans to expect the unexpected, flickered to life. The green glow of its screen showed one single, unmoving object. General Maddox leaned close, eyes narrowing. "They think we're done," said a junior officer. "No," Maddox replied, voice quiet but firm. "They think we're predictable." And maybe they were right. Humanity could be predictable. Our wars, our politics, our reliance on computers. Those patterns were easy to anticipate. But humans had another habit. Unpredictability born of necessity. The first message arrived 12 hours later. Not in English. Not in any code humans had created. It came as images. Worlds falling. Cities flattened. Species submitting. Submission was survival. Resistance meant extinction. The world watched together. Skyscrapers in New York, Dallas, Chicago, Los Angeles displayed the alien message, powered by emergency generators. Fear spread. Governments wavered. Markets collapsed. And yet, something else began to spread. Humor, defiance, memes. Clips of ordinary people joking, saying, aliens picked the wrong planet because humans, especially Americans, had a way of taking personal offense to being told they couldn't win. Within 48 hours, the resistance began, not perfectly organized, not uniform, not smooth, just human. Ham radio operators rebuilt communication networks. Retired engineers resurrected satellites long thought dead. Teenagers on gaming servers transmitted encrypted instructions. Silicon Valley coders worked beside Midwest farmers. Wall Street quants worked beside Appalachian mechanics. It wasn't tidy. It wasn't clean. It was relentless. It was human, and the aliens, they had miscalculated one thing. Stubbornness, the refusal to give up, to fold, to surrender. The human spirit, irrational, chaotic, unpredictable, was not something their algorithms had prepared them for. No one saw it coming, though everyone feared it. Gravity shifted in isolated zones over military bases across the United States. Hangars collapsed. Jet fuel ignited in midair. Aircraft, heavy and fast, crumpled like aluminum cans under invisible pressure. Radar operators shouted warnings that vanished in static. Chaos reigned for minutes that felt like hours. The aliens were testing humanity, probing weaknesses, measuring reaction times. Every movement we made, they calculated, anticipating the patterns we always fell into. But humans are never predictable for long. Inside NASA's secret hangar, a team of engineers and astronauts worked with a machine that had never flown beyond classified plans. A relic, decades old, an experimental propulsion platform shelved for being too unstable. Dangerous, unpredictable, a failure waiting to happen. Perfect for humanity's last gamble. Lieutenant Sarah O'Connell watched the fuel pumps hiss, the thrusters tremble. "If this blows," she said quietly, "we'll have nothing left to fight with." Commander Hayes didn't flinch. "If it succeeds, they'll never see us coming." The rocket lifted. At first, the world thought it failed. Flames flickered unevenly. Guidance systems wobbled. Cameras caught it spinning in impossible angles. For a moment, hope dimmed. Then the craft vanished. Not exploded. Not destroyed. Just gone. And for the first time, the alien vessel moved. It shifted, reacting not with fear but calculation. Their algorithms couldn't handle it. Humans had played outside the box. We hadn't engaged with raw power, with brute force. We had engaged with audacity. In New York, civilians watched the sky. A live stream, cobbled together from amateur telescopes and military feeds, showed the craft reappear inside the alien ship's gravitational envelope. Something no advanced species had attempted. Something impossible. The craft detonated, but not in a conventional sense. No fireball, no shrapnel. Instead, a cascading electromagnetic inversion pulse spread, like ripples through water, disrupting the alien ship's internal systems. It didn't destroy it. It confused it, fragmented it, gave humanity a window. Across North America, fighter jets scrambled. Pilots flew machines older than they were. F-16s, F-22s, even Cold War-era F-4 Phantoms took to the skies. No advanced targeting, no AI assistance, visual confirmation, manual locks, muscle memory, and instinct. The aliens tried to respond. Gravity fields bent, twisted, creating zones that should have been lethal. But humans adapt. We improvise. Old satellites, once considered junk, activated counterfield emitters, producing localized zones of stability. The sky itself became a weapon. Ground forces synchronized attacks via amateur radio networks. Coded signals transmitted over ham networks, gaming servers, even improvised fiber links. Civilians became combatants. Farmers monitored launch sites. Mechanics repaired fighter engines on the spot. Scientists calculated trajectories in real time using pocket calculators and old computers. In Cheyenne Mountain, General Maddox observed the chaos unfold. His face was a mask of calm, but inside, adrenaline surged. Every move was calculated, yes, but also unpredictable, fluid, human. The alien vessel wasn't designed for this. Their logic crumbled. On the ground, Americans didn't wait for permission. Communities improvised. Cities with blackout conditions used emergency generators to relay information. Electric grids were offline, but human ingenuity bridged the gap. Makeshift drones, old satellites, ham radios, all became part of the fight. "Command!" A pilot shouted over comms. "They're adapting faster than predicted." "Yes," came Maddox's reply. "But so are we." By the fourth hour, patterns emerged. The alien systems, overwhelmed by human unpredictability, began failing. Gravity distortions destabilized. Communications jammed. Sensors overloaded. And yet humanity pressed forward, not in perfect formation, but in relentless waves of improvisation. Improvisation born of necessity, born of survival instinct, born of pride. It was chaos. It was brilliance. It was human, and it was working. By the time Section 3 began, the skies were no longer just Earth's. They were a battlefield. The alien vessel, massive and black, loomed over the Pacific like a storm frozen in time. Smaller drones swarmed around it, probes of every size and shape, all moving in patterns that seemed impossible to predict. Yet humans had learned to adapt in hours what took civilizations centuries to calculate. Pilots from every branch, in every aircraft, formed improvised squadrons. F-16s flew alongside ancient Phantoms. Experimental drones zipped in unpredictable zigzags, and every jet was linked to a network of civilian observers, ham operators, and improvised satellite feeds. Humans had turned chaos into an advantage. On the ground, engineers monitored experimental weapon systems long kept secret. Electromagnetic counterfields, relic satellites, and improvised EMP arrays were synchronized to create zones where alien gravity manipulation failed. It was like painting a battlefield in invisible lines, using physics as a brush. Then the first strike wave hit. Missiles curved through warped gravitational fields. Jets pulled maneuvers that should have liquefied their pilots, and drones weaved through areas of extreme tidal distortion. Civilian telescopes streamed it live to millions. Everyone watched, from New York rooftops to desert towns, their fear replaced by awe. In Cheyenne Mountain, Maddox and his staff were running on adrenaline, coffee, and sheer stubbornness. Every move they make, Maddox said, eyes locked on the radar, will counter. Not perfectly, but creatively. That's how humans win. And humans were winning. The alien vessel responded with gravitational distortions more violent than before. Atmospheric pressure anomalies ripped through the clouds. Jets were torn from formation, ripped in ways physics didn't allow. Yet every time the aliens tried to contain or control the chaos, humans adapted. Retired engineers rerouted power from civilian grids to improvised drone relays. Teenagers used gaming servers to hack navigation pads and relay critical positioning data. Farmers calculated launch trajectories with improvised calculators. Mechanics repaired jet engines mid-battle. Civilians became soldiers. Soldiers became legends. And then, a turning point. The experimental propulsion craft, previously launched in Section 2, reappeared within the alien ship's gravitational envelope. For the first time, it wasn't just human ingenuity. It was human audacity. A pulse of electromagnetic energy disrupted the alien systems, causing drones to collide, sections of the vessel to malfunction, and internal circuits to overload. The aliens had never seen unpredictability at this scale. Their calculations failed. Their algorithms couldn't adapt. And humans pressed the advantage. Simultaneously, the fighter squadrons coordinated visually and instinctively. No AI guidance, no automated targeting. Pilots trusted their instincts, muscle memory, and each other. Jets dived through warped gravity zones, dodged debris, and locked onto key targets manually. It was chaotic, it was messy, and it was brilliant. In one unforgettable moment, an F-22 pilot named Jackson maneuvered his craft through a collapsing gravity field, narrowly avoiding a falling satellite, and launched a missile that struck a critical point on the alien vessel. The explosion didn't destroy it, but it created cascading failures. Systems collapsed like dominoes. On the ground, the synchronized counterfield arrays reached peak power. They created bubbles of stability, neutralizing alien gravitational anomalies just long enough for human aircraft and drones to strike again. 17 minutes. 17 minutes of chaos that would define humanity. The vessel fractured, not in flames, but in light. Sections peeled away, revealing an internal structure vulnerable to human tactics, human creativity, human audacity. Then it happened. The alien ship retreated, slowly, methodically, broken, confused. Not destroyed, not victorious. Retreating. For the first time, humanity stood united, not by politics, not by convenience, but by sheer refusal to surrender. Maddox watched it disappear. Exhaustion pulled at him, but he smiled. They'll remember this, he said. They'll never underestimate humans again. In homes across the nation, civilians cheered, hugged, cried. They had witnessed something remarkable. Not because technology alone won the day, but because humans, messy, stubborn, irrational, had refused to surrender. News feeds flooded with clips, memes, images of bravery, ingenuity, and audacity. Aliens picked the wrong planet. One viral clip read, and it was true, because humans had proven it, not through perfection, but through refusal. The alien vessel had retreated beyond visual range, drifting into orbit, then disappearing completely. Humanity had survived, yes, but more than survival, we had sent a message. Not of dominance, not of fear, but of something that advanced civilization seldom understood. Defiance born of heart and instinct. Signals began arriving, cautiously. This time from the aliens, not as threats, but as questions. Curiosity, it seemed, had replaced aggression. Why? Why resist inevitable assimilation? Why fight a force mathematically superior? Why risk everything in a battle almost certain to fail? No government spoke first. No generals issued proclamations. The answer came from humanity itself, from millions of voices stitched together in a transmission that transcended language, boundaries, politics. Teachers, soldiers, truck drivers, nurses, gamers, grandparents, ordinary people, extraordinary in their refusal to surrender. One sentence repeated again and again. Because it's ours. Not just the land, not just the sky, not just the oceans. Our pride, our music, our laughter, our arguments, our freedom to fail, our freedom to fight. The aliens listened. They had conquered countless worlds before. Entire civilizations had bowed without resistance. Entire planets had surrendered without a single act of defiance. But humans were different. They studied us from afar. Every advanced civilization has its analysts, its scientists, its philosophers. They couldn't understand how a species so fractured, so chaotic, could unify under pressure, not through orders, not through fear, not through structure, but through sheer stubborn will. They sent emissaries eventually, not soldiers, not weapons, observers, watchers, curious minds seeking to learn from a species that refused to break. On Earth, humans rebuilt, faster, smarter, stronger. Cities that had been darkened and damaged were restored, infrastructure upgraded, lessons learned and integrated. The experience had shown humanity what it could do when it refused to surrender. In schools, children studied the battle, not for tactics alone, but for spirit. History books would recount how engineers, farmers, mechanics, gamers, pilots, and ordinary citizens had united against an invincible foe, not because of weapons alone, but because of creativity, courage, and audacity. And humanity changed, not superficially, not in arrogance, but in awareness, because the universe, vast and indifferent, had been tested by our kind, and we had passed. Generals, politicians, scientists, they all knew it. The lesson was clear. Survival was not only about technology. Survival was about heart, about the refusal to yield, about standing up when everything is against you and saying, "We will not surrender." Years later, first contact happened again. This time it was deliberate. The aliens approached not from orbit, not with weapons, but with diplomacy, tentative, cautious. They did not underestimate us. They approached with respect, and humanity responded, not with triumphalism, not with fear, but with confidence. Confidence born of knowing that the species, chaotic and flawed though it was, could endure anything, that even against impossible odds, we would adapt, improvise, and overcome. We had learned something vital, not just how to fight, not just how to survive, but how to preserve what it means to be human. Across the galaxy, civilizations studied Earth, not as a target for conquest, not as a case study in weakness, but as a case study in resilience, ingenuity, and spirit, a species that refused to surrender, because surrendering was never in our nature. And somewhere beyond the stars, the aliens remembered the defiance, remembered the chaos, remembered the humans who had refused to bend to inevitability, because this planet, this species, this spirit, it could not be taken. The skies remained ours. The oceans remained ours. Our stories, our struggles, our laughter, our failures, our triumphs, they remained ours. And if the universe ever forgets that lesson, we will remind it. Again, we are human. We will not surrender.